From WFRV TV Local 5, Green Bay, Fox Cities, and the Lakeshore, this is Newsmaker Sunday.
Good morning. Welcome to Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zalaski. What a show today. It was a case that captivated Green Bay and all of Northeast Wisconsin for that matter. More than 30 years ago, remember paper mill worker Tom Monfiles went missing, found dead in that pulp vat at the James River paper mill. 6 men went to prison for Tom Monfiles' murder, and now a documentary is set to premiere to highlight that story. And joining us this morning, the director of that new film, Michael Nielsen. Michael, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Much appreciated. For those who weren't around maybe 30 years ago or don't quite remember the whole case, a little background on the Tom Monfiles murder and the subsequent imprisonment of the 6 men.
Yeah, we're on the 30th anniversary of this right now, believe it or not. So Tom Monfiles was a paper mill worker, worked at the former James River paper mill, and in November of '92, he was discovered at the bottom of a pulp vat with a makeshift jump rope tied around his neck and attached to a 50-pound weight. Pretty soon thereafter, the investigators deemed it a homicide, and they started investigating that as a homicide case for 2 years until they eventually charged 6 individuals who came to be known as the Monfiles 6 because of their connection to this case, who were Tom's co-workers, on a conspiracy to commit first-degree intentional homicide. So they went to prison, and one by one, they've all gotten out on various different stages now, except for Keith Kutzka, who's still in prison now, and he'll be up for parole again this year. So it's a harrowing part of obviously Green Bay's history, recent history relatively, everyone you talk to on the street around here in Brown County has an opinion or a memory, and it's a harrowing story.
And you decided to do this film, this documentary. Why did you decide on this topic? Did you have a connection to it? Where did the idea come from?
So my last film happened to also be Green Bay related, and we screened it at the Green Bay Film Festival in 2013. And we were approached afterwards by a group of people who were advocating that the Monfiles 6 were innocent, and they said they had this story they wanted to tell, have a movie made about it. Maybe it's my next project. And I wasn't terribly interested in doing an advocacy piece. That's not really what I do with my filmmaking work. But I was fascinated by just the nature of the story in the same way that it's captivated the community for all these years. And it didn't seem like there'd been a really singular piece trying to tell the story from kind of that 30,000-foot view. Get everyone from all sides you can, get the lead investigator, get the district attorney, and get these advocates who are arguing on behalf of the Monfiles 6, as well as the men themselves, and have everyone tell the best version of their side of the story in one piece so that the audience can sit there and digest it all and come to their own conclusion afterwards, as opposed to having to find the different narratives over everything that's been put together from various perspectives throughout the years.
You called your documentary Beyond Human Nature. Why the title?
I think that, well, first of all, that title came from something Cal Monfiles said. Cal was Tom's brother, and Cal, at this point, believes that his brother was not killed by these 6 individuals and has made kind of a loud noise about that throughout the years, which is fascinating because he has a lot to lose kind of by taking that stance. People are confused by his stance, but he used that phrase when he was describing why the state's case didn't make sense to him. To him, the idea of 6 individuals killing a coworker at work and then remaining silent about it for all these years after, not one coming out and ratting on the others hypothetically, felt like a beyond human nature. That wasn't possible that would actually happen. So that's where his incredulity came from. I chose that title because I also think that's another way of saying why the story has captivated us for as long as it has, regardless of your position, is that no matter what you think happened, there's some piece of it that just feels somehow beyond the realm of human capacity, that's how it happened. If you believe it was murder the way the state said, gosh, it's like, man, can you just imagine 6 coworkers, killing their coworker? That's beyond human nature. If you believe it's suicide, like the current advocates have been arguing since 2015 in all the new efforts there, that feels beyond human nature, that someone would kill themselves in that manner. Kind of wherever you end up, it feels crazy to some extent. And I think that's our way of trying to kind of center in on why this has had such a grip for so long.
And where will this debut?
At the Green Bay Film Festival. So that's going to be coming up here in 2 Fridays from now. So Friday, April 14th, I want to say. But yeah, that's going to be the world premiere. It felt appropriate to do it here in Green Bay. We'll be screening it elsewhere as well, and it's going to be available on digital on demand across the country. So if you can't make it to this, it will be available at home. But yeah, we're happy to be back for the second time to the Green Bay Film Festival.
Were you looking to accomplish anything particular with your documentary? I mean, does it give credence to the jury's verdict? Does it perhaps cast some doubt on what happened? What will I come away with when I see it?
So my hope is that any audience member can come to this film and get a real understanding of the people who are at the center of the story and hear the best possible arguments on all sides. I don't want to hear, you can find accounts of this story from either perspective, whether they were guilty or they weren't, whether it was suicide or it wasn't, and you only get that side. I wanted to equip the audience with the agency that they can watch this and observe it themselves and come to their own conclusions and not feel like I'm stacking the deck in one direction or the other. That's why I was able to get access to people on both sides. That's why I was able to talk to Randy Winkler for 12 hours over 2 days and film all of it and have the connection that we had. It's because he didn't feel like I was working against him. Likewise with Mike Piaskowski and his sister and Cal Monfiles and all these other people, Steve Kaplan, the appellate attorney for Keith Kutzka. All these people were willing to give me their time and trust because they knew I wasn't working against them. I wasn't trying to achieve a narrative. I was trying to honestly get a picture of why this story has the grip that it has.
Michael, do you think we're ever going to know the real story, what really happened?
I don't feel like I'm the one in the position for sure to make that declaration. That's why I kind of don't take that stance. If we're going to ever know, it's going to come from things like physical evidence, new evidence coming out, new hearings with new testimony, and I don't know how that all is going to shake out. But I'm not confused that multiple things happened. Only one thing did happen. Like Tom either was killed or he committed suicide or something was an accident. Whatever. One thing happened. Whether we'll actually ever truly know that, I don't know.
And yet all the 6 served so much time in prison and not a single one ever came out and said, here's what really happened.
Yeah, it's a terribly tragic story no matter where you conclude. I mean, it's tragic if it was 6 coworkers killing their coworker, and it was tragic if it wasn't, and these 6 men have now been in prison for years, and it wasn't something they did. It's a tragedy across the board.
This is fascinating. We have much more on the Tom Monfiles documentary, Beyond Human Nature, right after this, so please stay with us. We are back now with the director of the Tom Monfiles documentary, Beyond Human Nature, Michael Nielsen. This is your second documentary you've directed. The other one is called Last Day at Lambeau. What's that about?
That was a chronicling of Brett Favre's divorce from the Green Bay Packers back in 2010. So in 2008, really, but we filmed it in 2010. Yeah, back then that was we did that on a whim. We were Packers fans, and we didn't understand why we cared so much about what happened in that situation. We don't know Brett Favre, and we're stockholders with the Packers, but we don't really have any stake with this organization. Why did we care so much? And so that film was a self-interrogation of fandom. Why do we care so much about our icons, our heroes, our sports teams, through the story of Favre separating from the Packers?
As far as Beyond Human Nature goes, the Monfiles documentary, you've got a producer for the film. He's pretty close to you.
Which one are you talking about?
For the Monfiles film. You got your dad involved.
Oh, yes, that producer. Yes, thank you. Yeah, he'll love that I didn't know what you were talking about. Yes, he is a producer, yep. My father and I co-founded Story First Media 13 years ago, and he is the producer of this film as well as Last Day at Lambeau. We've been making brand content and commercials and everything for all that time in addition to doing these stories.
So, was it your dad's influence on you that got you into the documentary making business? We
came from different worlds, but we found we were speaking the same language. So I come from the film and screenwriting background, and he comes more from the ad agency marketing sales background. And together in around 2009, we found we were both talking stories. He was talking stories from a marketing standpoint while I was coming from the arts world. And when we realized we were kind of speaking that same language, we found, hey, there's a way we can fill each other's gaps and actually have a solution that helps people and organizations better tell their stories. And that's what we did.
Several years ago, as you well know, Making a Murderer came out.
Yes.
The Stephen Avery story.
Yeah.
Does your documentary at all compare to to that? How is it the same? How is it different?
So, Making a Murderer, it came out while we were filming, believe it or not. We've been filming it that long. We've been filming Beyond Human Nature since May of 2014. But that film and that series very much picks a side. That series, anyone who's watched it, you kind of can't help but feel like it knows the conclusion and it's just kind of trying to guide you towards that by the end. We really tried not to do that with this film. We really did want to have everyone come to this. Whatever you've heard about the story, you've probably missed something. You've probably not heard something from the other side. And the hope is that you watch this and you get all the information as best told by the horse's mouth, so to speak, as opposed to us just pushing you in the direction that we think makes the most sense.
We continue with Michael Nielsen, director of the documentary Beyond Human Nature. Right after this, stay right there. Back now with the director of the documentary Beyond Human Nature, the Tom Mann Files documentary, Michael Nielsen. You started filming this, when?
About May of 2014. So by the time this debuts, it'll be like 9 years that we've been working on this.
So you had the idea and you decided, I'm going to film this thing. Where did you start? On day one, you said, I have to go out and do what today?
It was earning everyone's trust, honestly.
Yes.
I spent a lot of time up front meeting with people, talking on the phone, making sure that everyone understood that they could trust me as a good faith arbiter, that I wasn't coming in to try and get anybody or coming in with a preconceived notion. I'm the last person in the world that would have any position to come in and impose. It was really a curiosity exercise for us of like, we don't know as much about this as the people who lived it, but we can tell the story. We can bring them in and have an honest picture of the humanity behind this story. So once I knew that I could get people from both sides, John Zukowski and Randy Winkler from the state side, and Mike Piaskowski and Cal Mann Files, and a number of other people from the other side, I felt like we had something. We had something that would be worthwhile and new to the conversation as a piece that isn't the same thing that's just been put out there a million times in the last 30 years.
Did any of the principals who you contacted upon first contact have any doubts, like, I'm not so sure about
Oh, certainly. I think everyone had a little bit of that, except for the people who approached me right at the very beginning. But everyone else, it's hard for them to know who to trust in this, right? I mean, everyone does have an angle personally. Everyone seems to have an opinion about what they think happened. So I totally empathize with the idea that, Randy Winkler or Amanda Williams, Brian Kellner's daughter, would have hesitations. And, I remember sitting with Amanda for a couple hours at the Cabela's here in Green Bay, literally just trying to put her concerns to ease that I wasn't gonna, lead her down a road she'd regret. And I've spoken to everybody since. They've all seen the film. And I haven't heard anybody tell me that I misrepresented them. They all said positive things. So that was the biggest task up front for me, was making sure that everyone knew what our motivations were, could trust what we were after, and then we felt like we had something.
So you don't have, obviously, actors and actresses. Who are we seeing in this film?
So you're seeing the edited result of around 50 hours of on-camera interviews that were all filmed in Madison. We brought everyone to one location in a studio in Madison. And then you're seeing archival from throughout the years. You're seeing news clippings. You're seeing news footage. You're seeing all kinds of evidentiary documents from the case that were part of discovery. And then you're seeing some very selective recreations that we filmed dramatically that are not filmed in order to say this is what happened, but instead to offer mysterious options to the audience of like, can you imagine? Let's imagine hypothetically if what we're hearing is true. Let's look at this. What does this look like in practice? And then what do you think? So that's what we have as the whole film. Okay,
so we've got a documentary for an event that happened 30 years ago. You got a young guy, 35 years old, missing, found at the bottom of a paper vat over at James River. People watched this case closely here in Northeast Wisconsin, from the arrests right through the court case, through the guilty verdict. Does it have an impact on the community today, or is it just something where we all say, oh yeah, I remember that?
I mean, to the community, I think it's hard to say, right? I know that everyone still has their opinions if they were around from that time, and they're deeply held ones because they're kind of symbolic opinions, right? Like, there was a union aspect, I know, at one point in the story that, you know, depending on your opinion on unions, you were probably swayed one way or the other emotionally as well. So everyone has deeply held opinions, but the people who are really kind of still carrying this are the individuals involved, right? So the Monfiles six as individuals, Detective Winkler himself, I know, has struggled with PTSD since this case. John Zakowski, I've talked to since, you know, this has kind of been a legacy item for him in some ways. This was a big marquee case that he was able to win. So everyone, the real impacts as to what the people who were core to this, the families of everyone involved and the individuals themselves, and that's what we tried to explore with this film.
Who was the judge in that? Was it James Bay Origin?
James Bay Origin, yep. Out-of-gamey judge, yep.
I remember, was it a Saturday that the verdict came in?
Testing my memory now, I believe so.
I think it was.
I think you're right, yeah.
Because I got called into work on that day.
Oh, did you?
Because we received word that the verdict was about to come down.
Yeah.
And I remember the cameras in the courtroom, and I sat at the anchor desk, and my boss at the time, he said in my earpiece, as the verdict was about to be read, he says, "Tommy, show no emotion. Do not react."
Yeah.
And that was tough to do.
I bet.
Because I remember Judge Bay Origin, he didn't pull any punches on that day.
Yeah.
He went, "Guilty." And he was shouting at these guys.
Yeah.
"Guilty. Guilty," 6 times, and you just kind of sat
that
back.
Booming voice, yeah.
He did.
You'll also remember then that during a few days before that verdict, the O.J. Simpson verdict came out. It was simultaneous to that case, and it was. I've heard some people speculate, who knows, that if O.J. hadn't been going down at that time, perhaps this would have been that kind of national story because of how salacious it really was. It was such a dramatic case. Who knows in that alternate universe? But
yeah, how it all came down.
Yeah.
We are back to wrap up right after this. Stay right there. We are back now with the director of the Tom Monfiles documentary, Beyond Human Nature, Michael Nielsen. Okay, documentary is going to be shown first time at the Green Bay Film Festival, April the 14th. So for people who want to see it, is there a charge? Do you get tickets? Where specifically are we doing this?
Yeah, so all tickets can be purchased through the Green Bay Film Festival's website. So, and you can find that on the URL, which I don't have memorized, but they also are present on social media everywhere. Plus, you can follow us at storyfirstmedia.com as well. We'll also be posting things related to that. Beyond that, Madison, the Wisconsin Film Festival. If you can't get into Green Bay, we're showing it there. And at the Milwaukee Film Festival, you can get tickets at all of those places.
So how long is the film?
The film is an hour and 40 minutes-ish. So.
And when people go there, is there a discussion afterward?
Yep.
What will you have, a forum?
Yeah, so immediately following the Green Bay screening, we will have a panel with myself, Mike Pieskoski, Cal Monfiles, and Steve Kaplan, the appellate attorney for Keith Kutzka at the time. And then in Milwaukee, I'm trying to arrange a screening where we can get someone from the other side, but we're still arranging that. So we tried not to have everyone kind of come to the one screening and put them all in the same room. I want to be respectful of people's desires to kind of, you know, have their own separate things. So, but yeah, Green Bay will be great to have that post-conversation, and you can come and ask these people any questions you have about the case.
Do you have any idea what to expect? This is so interesting.
I know.
To have both sides.
Yeah.
And strong feelings on both sides.
Very strong feelings. I honestly don't know what to expect. I obviously hope that everyone who comes with an open mind and comes with a willingness to hear the story as told by the people who lived it. You know, I mean, because, you know, we can all have our opinions as outside viewers of this, but ultimately it's their lives that we're watching, right? This is a movie, but it's a movie about real people with real stakes and real, you know, effects as a result of how this story is told. So we tried to be responsible about that.
Because this is going to be a rare occasion. This is going to be the first time that people on both sides of this issue are going to be in the same room together.
Yeah, we're trying. I don't know that we're going to have like characters from both sides in the same room at the same time, but certainly I'm sure there'll be a mix of opinions. I'm certain that'll happen.
You have done other documentaries. You mentioned the Brett Favre and Tom Monfiles. Yep. Anything in the hopper? What's next? Yeah,
so I've been working for a long time, almost the same amount of time. I'm not directing, but it's a documentary about James Brown's former drummer, Clyde Stubblefield. He used to live in Madison and died a few years ago. Known as the Funky Drummer, and he's become the most sampled drummer in hip-hop history. And so director Trevor Banks, a friend of mine, he's directing, and we've been working on that since 2015. So yeah, some very exciting stuff coming in the future from us.
So for all the work that you did on this documentary about the Monfiles case, Did it change your perceptions at all, what you thought you were going to find as opposed to what you actually did find during the course of your interviews and your investigation?
I feel like I have a better understanding of why this case remains so mysterious for so many people, and that even if you have a firm opinion as to what happened, you can find it hard to put it to bed mentally, is because there's just a little corner of mystery no matter kind of where you land. I have my own opinion about where I think it's most likely, but I don't know that it's any more valuable an opinion than anyone else's opinion who's spent a similar amount of time looking at this story. It was a lacerating experience, you know, for the people involved and for the community. We tried to tell that in as humane and empathetic a way as we possibly could.
All the people that you spoke with for this film, these are real people who were really involved in it.
Yeah.
Did they kind of use you as a sounding board to tell their side of it? Like, Michael, this is really what happened.
I mean, I don't know how they couldn't, right? I mean, if I had, what else would they tell me, right? Like we gave everyone a ton of time. I think our shortest interview was like 4.5 hours. So we tried to give everyone a lot of time to really take their time through their side of the story and make sure we're not missing any, you know, crossing any T's or dotting any I's. Because again, we really wanted to construct that best representation of everyone's side. We didn't want to straw man anybody. We didn't want to short sell anybody. You know, however you come out of this after watching the film, if you have an opinion one way or the other, my hope is you have a better ability to argue that side because you've at least reckoned with the opposite now, having seen the film, because both are in there.
Right. Michael Nielsen, it has been a pleasure.
And my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And if you have a newsmaker in your town who you think we should have on this show, let us know about it. Send us an email to tips@wearegreenbay.com, or you can message us on Facebook. And be sure to join us once again Sunday morning at 7:30. Until then, have a great day.